fans, welcome back to Room 237, and this is a bit of a random review because this is of a movie that I did plan on picking up at some point because it is Italian, it is part of a genre I am a fan of, but I actually went to go place my pre-order for the Dexter New Blood Steelbook and pick up Aimer, or a Mare, another Giallo homage or tribute film. And I came across this and I was like, I've known about it for a while, well, why not finally pick it up? And it's part of the Italian cannibal genre, which I am a fan of. And I'll just get to it. 1985's, I have to go like this because it's an uncensored cover, Massacre in Dinosaur Valley, which is not a very good title, but this is the Blu-ray from Severin, very tight slipcover. This is the, I'll just hold this one up. Yeah, also known as, its original title was Naked and Savage. It also went by Massacre in Dinosaur Valley and Cannibal Ferox 2, which is wrong on a few levels because, one, keeping a tradition with Italian sequels, it would have been in name only, not carrying over from Cannibal Ferox. I mean, look at how many zombie films or The Church, or La Casa. Even the first La Casa is just The Evil Dead. Just keep making films with a popular title, slap a sequel number on it. But I would probably say Naked and Savage would be the best title, because Massacre in Dinosaur Valley, I guess it fits because, I mean, it is more of a jungle adventure movie. It's definitely not to the level of Cannibal Ferox. I mean, I haven't seen too many of these. I did just make a playlist of all my Italian cannibal film reviews. I think there's 6 so far, so this will be number 7. This has got to be my least favorite. And it's probably the most lighthearted of the ones I've seen. I do have another one, Bruno Mattei's 2004 Mondo Cannibal, which I've had forever. I just haven't got around to it yet. And I know I still need to get, you know, Cannibal Terror, In the Land of Cannibals, White Slave, Cannibal Apocalypse. Those are just the ones on top of my head. I have a list of all of them in my notes on my phone, so before you recommend it, I already know about it. But yeah, this has a lot of kind of slapsticky comedy in it. Little to no cannibal violence or anything. When there is blood, yeah, it's nice. You get one real gore scene. It's actually closer to Eaten Alive because, you know, there's 2 threats to our main characters. You have the cannibalistic tribe and the Blood Diamond gang that also takes them captive towards the end. But yeah, it's mostly just our characters wandering through the jungle. And despite the cover and even the title, it's not like a Skull Island where there's like giant you know, versions of animals or even dinosaurs. I don't even remember exactly why they go to Dinosaur Valley, but it's called that because dinosaurs once lived there. And that plays in a little bit. I mean, we see like a skull, we see some footprints, which have somehow standed the test of millions of years. And I think it's like the shaman of the tribe, where it's like a Triceratops skull. And it has the goofiest looking Triceratops hand. Like, it looks like a Hulk hand. You remember those? The big green Hulk hands? It looks like that, but like a reptile claw, and it looks rubber. I don't know if that was supposed to be a Triceratops foot or something they made to look like it, within the context of the film, I mean. But yeah, it's a very goofy movie. Really just a couple of scenes that either builds any kind of suspense or horror, really. Uh, one good gore cannibal scene. Well, I guess technically two, but and then a couple somewhat rape scenes very close to the end. But yeah, it's definitely not to the level, like, I watched something like Cannibal Ferox. I can see why that's banned. I can see why that's a notorious film. Certainly Cannibal Holocaust. This really doesn't add up to it. I mean, even the lead, Michael Sopkiv, if I pronounce that correctly, who was in Blast Fighter and Killer Fish. Imagine the Italian exploitation character actor, Giovanni Lombardo Radice. I always have a hard time with his name. House on the Edge of the Park, City of the Living Dead, Stage Fright, Trauma, bunch of films. Imagine like a Brandon Fraser, The Mummy version of him. That's kind of what we got for a lead. And he's kind of a cocky goofball. He's kind of like Brandon Fraser in The Mummy. There's even a scene in the beginning where, like, a bar fight that is just a comedy piece. But before I get into any more of that, so yeah, 1985, it was one of the last of the genre before it finally kind of died out. I mean, there would be smaller films made after the 80s. Bruno Mattei kept making them. Like I said, Mondo Cannibal in 2004. But while they were still relevant, this was one of the last ones. Oh, it was also known as Amazonas, which isn't really a bad title either. Directed by Michele Massimo Tarantini, who also wrote it. Stars Sopkiv, Suzanne Carvalho, Milton Rodriguez, Marta Anderson, and Joffrey Soares, or Soares, if I pronounce that correctly. I think this might also be a co-production with Brazil, because I think that's where it was filmed. Yeah, a co-production with Italy and Brazil, and released in Italian and Portuguese languages. Stranded in the Valley of Dinosaurs is also that's actually the best suiting title. Stranded, because that's what they are. Their plane crashes, and then that's pretty much it. I mean, we actually see our cannibal tribe like a half hour into it. 45 minutes into it is when we get like our first attack. But yeah, and put out by Doral Film and DMV Distribution, however they pronounce that. There's probably not a whole lot to say about the background on this film, as far as, before Severin got to it. Or even what's on here for features. There's an interview with the co-writer, interview with the lead actor. But yeah, so we're in, guessing Brazil. I don't even remember exactly where it takes place, but there's like this seedy bar where we see our lead, whose name is Kevin Hall, which when he first introduces himself, he's like, Kevin Hall, he says it like a lot faster. He sees this one guy, this older drunken dude groping this girl, so he pushes him off of her and punches him, and then this one huge, like 7 foot tall, built guy's like, that was my brother that you just hit. And he does the whole like, he doesn't like pat down his shirt or anything. He was like, oh, hey, well. And then he backs into another guy who's even taller. He's like, he's my brother too. Which actually first, after he hits the guy, The first one puts his hand on his shoulder, and he's just like, because he thinks it's the girl, but then he's like, and then he makes a joke, and he like, hits one guy with the chair, breaks it, he doesn't move, hits the other guy. There's a fight. Then we find out he's a paleontologist, and there's going to be this flight to Dinosaur Valley, which is this highly, like, this rarely ventured to but legendary part of the jungle that's inhabited by the Amazonian, if they call them Amazonian, this tribe that is known to kill any white person that shows up in their land. And yeah, they worship dinosaurs or whatever. And it's called that because dinosaurs once lived there, and there's still evidence of their existence, or the fact that they lived there. So he really wants to go, and he meets up with this one, I think he's a paleontologist professor. Yeah. Yeah, it opens up in São Sebastião, which is in Brazil. Professor Ibanez, played by Leonidas Bayer, and his daughter Eva, Suzanne Carvalho, who was in Women of Fury. Then there's a photographer named Robbie, who's Carlos Imperial, who I guess was a singer. His two models, Belinda, played by Susan Hahn, and Monica, played by Maria Rice. Vietnam vet John, played by Milton Rodriguez, who was in a film called Cyclone. And his wife Betty, played by Marta Anderson, Bear Behind Bars, is what she was in. I did not know that they were married. They might have said it, because there's a brief scene with all these characters together on this plane. I don't really remember anything from it. Next thing we know, the plane goes down, and the professor's killed. They have to leave. And there's like a lot of back and forth between the Nam vet and Betty. But it's so weird because Betty will like grab onto John for like protection. But then any time, because like him and Kevin are at odds with each other for who's in control. Like Kevin has a shotgun, John has a machete. John says, I saw a river, let's just make it to the river. He knows about the tribe. He knows they gotta be quiet. He knows how to survive in the jungle. He helps Betty at several times. Like when she gets leeches on her or whatever. But like when Kevin gets the upper hand, she's standing in the background like, kill him, shoot him. Like, I didn't even know that they were married. I don't even remember if they say it. And then for a while, it's them wandering through the woods. There actually is one kind of gore scene that I forgot about, which is when the photographer Robbie, they're walking through, you know, this body of water, and he starts screaming and going down. Blood starts coming up. I'm guessing it was piranha, because when he comes out, from his knee down is nothing but bone. There's like meat on the bottom and the top. His shoe is still there. Decent. Not a terrible effect. It's very quick. John just puts him out of his misery by stabbing him with a machete. Of course, Kevin hates him for that. He's like, he's screaming. All the noise is gonna bring the cannibals to us. Which, at one point, like, we see the cannibals from a distance, which, the acting in this movie is not very good either. Because, first time we see them, they're all hiding in a thicket. This was after the photographer gets killed. And that woman, Betty, looks at her arm and sees that it's got leeches all over it. She goes to scream, and the model, Belinda, like, grabs her. She's like, don't make a sound or we'll die. Then we see John do this trick to get the leeches off, where he digs a hole, puts twigs in it, lights them, sticks her arm in it. The heat will get the leeches off, so she doesn't get gangrene. Then there's a fight between John and Kevin for who's in control. That's when she yells at Kevin to kill John, her husband. But then next thing we know, the cannibals show up. Everyone kind of runs off. Betty ends up in quicksand, which this is one of the scenes that I liked. She's slowly sinking in this quicksand. John shows up and she's begging for help, and he's kind of coming close. Then like an arrow shoots out of the trees into the ground. So he like backs up, and then he comes a little bit closer. She's begging, but then like he hears the rustling and like another arrow. So he just like backs up and just starts running. I was like, what do you do? I did like that scene. The tribe runs right by her because she just goes down. They catch up to him. And other than like the shin scene with the photographer, the only real gore scene will be when the tribe catches up to him and they cut his heart out. They take his heart out, and then the chief bites into it. Really the only cannibal scene too, up until the actual tribal ceremony, which the tribes people get the professor's daughter Eva and the model Belinda. I think the other model was killed in the crash as well, because I don't even remember who she was. But they capture the two girls, take them back to the village. Kevin's kind of watching from a distance. They get them in the ceremonial garb, and then they're able to summon somehow the shaman, because they like light this thing and there's like a poof of smoke, and we see this guy with the triceratops skull. Well, first there's the guy that has like, imagine like Aladdin's actually no, imagine Red Hood from Batman, but like a shorter hood. Like it almost looks at like Cousin It from the Addams Family wearing Aladdin's hat, almost doing some chant, some incantation. Then there's the poof, then there's Triceratops head. He comes up to Belinda with his Triceratops Hulk hand that is obviously rubber. And even if it was like his real hand and he's part Triceratops, I don't even know what this guy is. They summoned him. I don't know if he's supernatural or not. And that's like his real hand or whatever, but he just like grazes it down Belinda's chest, and there's a bunch of blood that comes out. They fill a skull with it and drink it. The only other semi-cannibal scene in the movie. Which, there is another scene earlier on when I thought, oh my god, this is going to be campy. Because they come across this marsh with all these spikes sticking out with skulls on top. And the skulls are so white and clean. Almost like Halloween decorations. Like, they look like styrofoam. I was like, fuck, this is going to be campy. And it is. So, yeah, that's the back. So, Kevin rigs this bomb because he's got like the shotgun shell sashes. He empties a shell into a cigarette cellophane, ties a shoelace, lights it, throws it, makes a bomb, comes in, just starts shooting a bunch of tribes people. I'm guessing that's the massacre. That's really it. Gets the two. They get into a boat, one of the, a tribe boat. They're paddling away. Eventually, the tribe catches up. They have like these rope nets that are rigged in the river to come up. He's got 3 shells left, so he shoots the chief, which causes the tribe to retreat. And then he's able to shoot the rope with a shotgun to drop the net. They come out to this clearing. Eva and Kevin go off to make out because, of course, they're love interests. And they find dinosaur footprints, which he says fossilized, so it's preserved millions of years. And then this guy named China comes out, which he calls him China, but his guys call him China, which he's played by I think that's the Joffrey Soares. I can't believe I said that the first time. No, Suarez is Jose. There isn't even it doesn't even give me a thing for China. He's got this blood diamond operation with slaves and prostitutes. So of course he takes the two girls. He ties Kevin to this post in the pig pen. Pretty much sets the girls up to be sex slaves, essentially. And then like the head prostitute comes in and kind of has this, I don't know if you could really call it rape, but it doesn't seem very consensual. Scene with Belinda saying, if you cooperate, I'll help you get out. So then she tries to help Belinda sneak out, but China sees her, shoots her a bunch of times, kills her. That one prostitute chick starts laughing, as if, you think I'd really help you? Then he takes Eva. And I do like the editing with this, because he starts to rape her. And then it shows Kevin in the pen. He like rubs the rope against his wrist to get it to bleed so the pigs will smell it and go to bite, but actually bite the rope and free him. And that's intercut with these short spurts of like him having his way with her. It's just it's different because normally you would just get that scene in its entirety for shock value in a film like this. But here it was different, and two, it was a good way to build some sort of suspense. But Kevin gets away, then next day he shows up with these handmade javelins or spears, and they have a show-off or a showdown, you know, China's 6-shooter against his round of spears, the oversized spears, that's why I said javelin. They go at it like that. China's down to his last bullet. Kevin throws a bag at him. It's a rattlesnake. So he has a choice: shoot the rattlesnake or shoot Kevin. He shoots the rattlesnake, but he's able to get one of Kevin's spears. Kevin throws it just in time to hit him, and yeah, there's some blood. It's not an overly bloody movie. It's got some blood. Not what you would expect in like a Amazon cannibal movie, but and yeah, like I said, this is definitely the campiest and most lighthearted of all the ones I've seen so far. I guess on a technical level, it is better made than something like Bruno Mattei's Mondo Cannibal, or Jess Franco's, also known as Mondo Cannibal, but Cannibals, which is what I have it listed as. Technically, it's a better made movie than those, but I got more of a cannibal film from those than this one. So then after he kills China, he sets up this bomb charge so that when his men he frees the slaves, so that when China's men come up, which they pretty much shoot all the slaves that have run free, they come into the compound, he sets the charge off, blows them all up. And then the helicopter with supplies that China called for earlier shows up. Eva and Kevin get in it, they steal it, and they fly off. But Kevin managed to get the box of blood jewels, essentially, that they're going to keep and benefit from. And that's the end of the movie. Not too much to say about it. It does drag at times, especially when we get to the China portion. It really drags, especially the last 10-15 minutes. But I mean, the scenes where they're in the jungle and we see those threats, because there's other scenes with like when they're all sitting there at first in this Boa slithering up to Eva, but the dubbed slithering sound sounds more like a tsh. It sounds more like a radio static. Or, scenes with some gators or whatever. Those are, when it actually utilizes where it is, it's fine. When we actually have the tribe scenes or cannibal scenes, then, it's exciting at first, and then, like, when that Nombat gets his heart ripped out and bitten into, you think it's like a sign of things to come, like, oh wow, we're gonna see some gnarly shit. Not really. And then when that Triceratops head pretty much gets summoned, and you see just like that rubber claw hand that he has, and just the overall tone of the film doesn't really fit. I'm not saying they all have to be dreary and depressing like Cannibal Holocaust, but even something like Eaten Alive or Jungle Holocaust was a very fun film. I was very surprised by that one. This, I wasn't the biggest fan of. It's a very silly movie. There's not, barely qualifies to be a cannibal film. Really just a couple scenes. Most of the time, it's either them at their village getting the two girls ready for this ceremony, or seeing them from a distance or like alongside the river, kind of chasing after them. More so scenes like that than actual violence or cannibalism. But yeah, I was kind of let down by this. There's not a whole lot to say about it. The gore was decent when it was there. Not really a whole lot of cool shots I can think of. I mean, when Chyna first brings Eva into his cabin, there's a shot, think like the Slumber Party Massacre cover, where it's like his legs are here, we see her, and she like kicks him in the balls. That was a decent shot, but yeah, so far, it's, I can't really call it the worst because I've seen other cannibal films that are worse made films, but they were either so bad they're good, or I just got more of what I wanted from a cannibal film from them than this. But I can't say it's my least favorite. I'll say this is my least favorite of the genre so far. So that is 1985's Massacre in Dinosaur Valley. This is the Severn Blu-ray. I still have some of the Trash Palace Jelly to get to. I did just pre-order Forgotten Jelly Volume 4, which I already have Sister of Ursula, but I'll have 2 in that set to get to. And my next review will be A Mare, which is from the same husband-wife filmmaking team that did Strange Color Your Body's Tears. So this will be very interesting. But, so yeah, stay tuned for all those, and thank you for watching.